on. What the fuck do we want on Steam here? Like, hey guys, podcast. It's been a while. I'm
Everyone,
I'm
it's
back.
not an Arbor. It's not an Arbor and drugs with friends. It's an Arbor and video games with
Yeah,
friends.
Ann Arbor's streaming in the background of the actual Twitch channel. That's still alive, thanks to him. I am leaving in
Everyone
like
should come
7
over and
hours
follow me.
to go record more music, and Luke came up with this video. So,
Yeah, I did because it just seems strange that we talk about games a lot, but the only game that we really talk about is Yu-Gi-Oh! So I thought mix it up a bit this time.
I mean, you have what I just played on your Steam wish list, and I will say that got me thinking
Yeah,
because there's a lot of lost media essentially.
yeah, and I take umbrage with what a particular dub actor said at one point, like, "Oh, if it's lost media, tough shit." It's like, no,
No,
the whole no, the whole point of it is you gotta preserve the media to realize, like, oh, this is actually better than what some of the things that are coming out today are.
there are few things I actually actively participate in, and one of them is preserving lost media.
Yeah.
I'll take a quote or a pseudo quote from the dude that did the Kamen Rider Dragon Knight thing on Vox way back in the day, and go ahead and fucking pirate it. I know we like praise like supporting the official release of something, but when that official release is no longer available, that's when we have to take to the high seas. And the reason I really got into this back in the day was I was a big fan of the Scott Pilgrim game. And that was my first experience with a game getting delisted. So when I went to go buy it on another platform, I realized like I can't do that anymore. And there are a few studios that are very notorious for this, and Activision is the worst. Shockingly, I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2 are essentially lost media right now. You have the Deadpool video game, you have things like that just being lost to time. Last week, I retweeted Wario because Turtles Lost in Shadows reappeared randomly on Steam, but that was apparently an error. And
Oh
Activision essentially refunded everybody and revoked the key to that game.
no, no, don't! What are you doing, Activision?
So that got me a little bit more heated about something like this. And um, if you had access to my tax documents, which are not public, obviously, even as a content creator, one of the charities I actually donate to, or things I donate to, is the video game preservation ship. So, like, stuff like the Video Game Museum, and in addition to, like, the Trevor Project and stuff like that, I actively, like, really participate in. So, just clearing all that up, a lot of these games you can still technically get, but they are going to be sourced from less than legal services.
Yeah, yeah. Or unless you go out and really buy them, but we all know what that's all like. As
I
people,
definitely did not pay $280 for a copy of Folklore during the quarantine. Not at all.
yeah, I definitely did not see Castlevania Symphony of the Night for £400 second hand.
I still have my original copy, and I am very fucking grateful for that.
And I am so annoyed that this is like, because that was one of the games that was on my games I want on Steam. Because when they did the Castlevania anniversary pack, I thought like maybe we'll get Symphony of the Night on there. Nope, we don't.
Actually,
Wait, are we getting it? Are we getting it?
I
Are we?
think it's in a bundle now.
Okay. Calm down, Luke. Calm down, Luke. It you saying that, Vex, is like it's like me like just going for a piece of meat. Like, come on, doggy. You know you want it. You know you want it.
I'm pretty sure it's in one of the bundles now. Is it this one, or is it just on console right now?
I think it is just on console, which is like so annoying. It's not. It wasn't even on the PlayStation, like the PlayStation Classic console.
That is stupid as shit, by the way, that wasn't on there, because that was one of the most notable PS1 games.
Yeah, it's
Um,
like
it
it's
is
like you
not on
had.
Steam. It must be a console exclusive. Let me go back to my other desktop really quick, where I'm recording this, so I can monitor things.
So yeah, you can see everyone like why it's kind of like it's this type of video, because when you get stuff like that, when you get like many of the retro Castlevania games, but not the one that everyone wants to play.
See, I I'm a whore for beat 'em up action games and things like that. So, contrary to the popular take on it, I love the Lords of Shadows games, and because they were essentially God of War but making Castlevania, right? So I was a
Okay.
big fan of that. That's definitely not fresh in my brain because I've been playing that in the other room while I've been free. Because it's on PlayStation Plus or the PlayStation Plus Extra, whatever the fuck they call what used to be PlayStation Now. Because I got PS5 finally, and I got that solely so I can play God of War Ragnarok because my best friend and I were going back and forth playing the original, like, 2018 God of War.
I'm getting a PlayStation 5 just for Demon Souls and Final
Yeah.
Fantasy 16.
And now the newest Ratchet and Clank is on PlayStation Plus as well, so I'm gonna be playing that next weekend while I have time available. Because I'll be done with not me knocking on wood to be done with this album. I'm going back to another city to record 2 of the 10 tracks because I didn't like the bass line on them. That is my entire weekend after I'm done recording
Wow.
progression.
Wow.
Sounds relatable.
So I know, super relatable to our audience. I know. I think I'm the only one here that does any music, and that's fine. Because it's always good to have hobbies outside of content creation.
Yeah.
Even though but let's get
yeah,
back on topic so I don't have
let's
to
get
edit
back on topic.
18 hours worth of footage because that is
Yeah.
how we exist.
Yeah, so one of the other games that I really am annoyed because Anarba mentioned it yesterday and he has got it on Steam before it went out. Sims 2.
I don't have it on Steam, I have it on Origin.
Oh, Origin, like bottom line is Sims 2. Why did they get rid of that?
So
because they closed the service, they made a big announcement. It was really in all gaming media.
I know,
As
but
they
it's...
also said they give it away for free with all the DLCs during the last month.
yeah,
But it's so annoying. It's so annoying that is the case because
Imagine, Luke, you want to.
Sims 2 is one of the best Sims games ever. Fight me on it.
So I never really caught on to The Sims. It was just like torture simulator to me. Like I always just murdered my Sims. I don't know what this says about me as a human being.
You live out your god complex as you should.
I mean that's the type of game it is, right? It's a god simulator. But for me, I never really got into that. But I do agree, like Sims 2 definitely needs to be on there because it is a piece of gaming history. It was one of the most nominated games back in the day for like awards and shit. So that's one that I never understood why it just kind of disappeared.
Yeah.
I would say I like how inclusive the new modern Sims are. Like they have like gay couples. They have like
Gay
disabilities.
couples they had since Sims 1, if I remember
Yeah,
right.
yeah, you could do that in Sims 2. So
They have the disability pact where you can have like wheelchair Sims, amputee Sims. You have more than like a fucking twig for a model. I love things like that. But Sims 2 definitely kind of created this nice atmosphere. Just and like let's be realistic here. ProZD made like The Sims a meme with the Simlish videos. For me, and I think Ann Arbor and I are in agreement on this. It'll never happen because of the partnership between the studio and the engine that they're using now, but it's Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, I knew this. It was bound to happen. Anybody who's seen any videos or listened to Vex knows they are a die. I would say you're a die-hard Kingdom Hearts fan.
I definitely do not have sealed copies of the final mixes from Japan,
Yeah, of course you don't have that.
and I will refuse to say how much I paid for that. So
You don't have to tell me. I know the price.
exactly. You understand what kind of a bill that is for me. I mean tax write-off because it was for content purposes. My tax agent hates my guts.
Dude, if I would be I would literally just buy a whole bunch of sectors to review them, just to fuck with the taxes.
I have contemplated buying a Moby Huge for tax purposes.
You should.
Don't
You
don't
should.
tempt me.
But yeah, Kingdom Hearts. The problem is
They have a partnership with Epic.
that's the biggest problem. That's standing in the way.
Because they've changed from their in-house engine to Unreal Engine around it was 0.2, wasn't it?
Yes, point two was the first game with Unreal Engine.
And that kind of fucked over any chance of us ever getting it on Steam. Although there are like Unreal Engine games on Steam, it's sort of like a pseudo exclusivity right for PCs that they've written into it. So it'll always be on the Epic engine until it isn't, and then it essentially becomes like what we got with like the Final Fantasy VII remake and Final Fantasy 15, yada yada yada. I hope one day it is, and I will buy it for an 18th time. And hopefully that version has a fucking cloud save feature. I am not grinding out an exact replica of what we were playing on stream right now. Because when I upgraded my PC and all that, like, none of the saves carried over, and that's when I learned that there is no cloud save feature on the Epic Game Store version. Fuck you, Square Enix, for that. So yeah, that's my biggest one though, because it's so simplistic to have one fucking launcher for everything, and not having to have the Ubisoft launcher, the 2K launcher, the Rockstar Game launcher, the fucking EA launcher that I had to install for Jedi Survivor. I did not have another.
I don't want to monopole that Steam would become if all those other launchers wouldn't exist. We are already here saying $70 for a game is way too much. Sorry, but if you had the monopole, it would be $100 already. And that we have a stop in there is what we need.
I don't disagree with the need for like competition and all of that. That is the biggest argument for like Epic Games having their own storefront and all that, because competition has helped the. I say that as a borderline communist, but I do see some merits in capitalism and the fact that competition does breed innovation. You do see things come out of that side of things that really does help the industry. If it wasn't for things like Xbox, for example, we wouldn't see streaming pushed to the main front, like game streaming with like Game Pass and stuff like that. This cloud gaming boom that we have. But also at the same time we have monopolization of like all of the gaming studios coming under like 3 different umbrellas. That's the big downside to this sort of thing. And if we didn't have things like Kingdom Hearts locked behind the Epic game launcher, I really do wonder, outside of Fortnite, what would Epic really have? You know? So that,
Probably not a lot.
They shouldn't have to. Have you read the terms of service?
please don't make me read the terms of service. I am.
It's shit. You literally don't use to look at everything on your PC.
I hope
even if
they
it has nothing to
enjoy.
do with Epic.
I hope they enjoy my quote unquote content that they see on there. Um, that's all I can say to that without getting this like massively demonetized. Like, I don't give a fuck because one way or another, like my degree obviously is in cybersecurity. There is no getting around the fact that these companies will spy on you in some capacity. Like
Yeah,
that's
but
an
there's a
inevitability.
difference about what
Explicitly
Steam looks into and what Epic looks into.
Yeah, and there's a difference between like explicitly giving them consent to do that via their TOS, and that's something I very much don't agree with. But at the end of the day, they have kernel level like access to your fucking computer, just like Valorant does in the Riot game launcher. And that's a terrifying reality if you understand what that means. And I'm not going to spend 45 minutes explaining that. But yeah, no, that's my big one. Ann Arbor, I know you have a couple too. As he's playing Yu-Gi-Oh.
Would be the same as my biggest one would be the same as you just said, Kingdom Hearts. I'm a little, I'm a JRPG, but what can I say?
Yeah, I guess my other ones would be like because all of mine are retro games.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess like my other ones would be stuff like, I mean, you got like Roller Coaster Tycoon Deluxe Edition on Steam, and I adore that game, just being able to build your own roller coaster and everything. So I mean, technically you can still get this game somewhere, but I really wish it was like just on Steam, like in the library, so I didn't have to go through several different files to find where I've actually put it. Transport Tycoon, and that would also make for great multiplayer as well, because that has a multiplayer mode where you can be with other tycoon people who like tycoon transport people, just building everything, and maybe I'd having some matches together to see who's the last one. So it'll be those types of games, like those retro games that you could do matches with.
Yeah, for Roller Coaster Tycoon and like all of those Tycoon games, that's one of those interesting ones.
Yeah. But also another one would be Theme Park World.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was a game that I played the crap out of when I was younger, and I've got the PlayStation 2 version, but I adored playing it on the PC, and just having like the little guy come up and being like, "You're out of cash. If you don't break on it in next 6 months, you'll be bankrupt." Just like insulting you half the time.
Mm-hmm.
As it should.
Yeah.
As a game developer, I would insult my players all the fucking time.
But a big one that I really feel that a lot of people would get a kick out of is and Ann Arbor's played like a little bit with it, but granted I was controlling both players. Dr. Draco's Mad Cap Chase.
Mm-hmm.
That was really funny to play.
Yeah, that was funny because that is okay. It's basically you're going around. It's basically if Monopoly was all of Europe and it was a video game.
Europe is great. Everyone should move to Europe.
That is what I can describe that game, but it is so funny. Like, some of the stuff in that game is absolutely hilarious. Like the announcer going like, I think we have to work on this guy's money spending and money in the bank,
Mm-hmm.
and just being like, Dr. Drago has bought a land in London and used some of your money. It's just those types of games that would really make for fun gaming night.
Yeah, there's a fucking like those. I never really got super into like those types of games, but I would like to see them for the fans be like put in the Steam marketplace.
But also as well, like, just have more collections of like retro, like Battlefield. Like, imagine a Battlefield collection where you can have Battlefield 1942, Battlefield 2, Battlefield 3, and so on and so forth.
Well, a lot of those are being deactivated server-wise. I found out
Ugh.
recently. So they're delisting them on consoles even, which is annoying to me, right? Because I believe it was 1942, Bad Company 1 and Bad Company 2 are all being deactivated right now. I think it's like in July they get deactivated. Which is
That's why we have a best of 3, Fisher.
Oh wait! No! Wait, there is actually a Battlefield collection. Let me see which games there are. And of course, it's Battlefield 1, Battlefield 4, and Battlefield 5.
yeah.
Like,
It's
what
weird
logic
to
is that?
me, that they would be deactivated then. But also I do understand like the technological cost of things.
Yeah.
That it would cost a lot to maintain those servers, given they're probably made on like ancient technology and they're like security
I love
risks.
ancient servers. If you know how to program an ancient server, you can literally earn millions
Yeah,
just for like doing work for a month.
Yeah. I like things like Star Wars Galaxy is a prime example of that, right? Because it had a revitalization based on like peer-to-peer technology.
Yeah, and also City of Heroes has had a revitalization.
Things like plutonium and there was another one that just got taken down by Activision for like the ancient like Modern Warfare slash Black Ops games where they just basically took the assets and you could put any gun into any map, yada yada yada. And I love things like that as a boomer shooter guy of types of things. You know, I love the old school Call of Duties more than the newer ones because you didn't have the ability to pay 99 cents for a fucking red dot site.
Yeah.
I will never let Activision live that down that they charge 99 cents for a fucking site that should have been in the base game. That was the dumbest thing in Call of Duty history. Fight me.
Wow. But there was also one other that would really make good multiplayer. And I mean, I know that it's technically already on Steam. Well, one of the games, but Worms.
Yeah.
Worms would be really funny. I agree.
Yeah, like Worms 2. I was like, I that was one game that immediately came to mind because of just like the worms going like, "Kamikaze, take cover, hallelujah, boom."
Worms is fucking crazy, right?
I know.
Like, that game without content creators would be nothing, but thanks to content creators, it got this massive blast in popularity.
What's up, Who Stole My Soup? How are you?
Oh my god, there is a Worms collection.
Yeah,
Guess how much?
It's probably like $15.
No, oh no.
Other than talking with those two fucks, I'm pretty good as well.
Buy Worms collection bundle, £165.
Y'all can fucking blow me if you think I'm paying that for all the Worms games. Fuck that shit. That's
it's
insane.
not even all of them. Worms 2 is not on here. It's like you have Worms, but not Worms 2.
What the fucking shit?
Hilarious, if you ask me.
That is so annoying. I'm gonna find out if it's like something completely different, like on if it's named something completely different.
But for me, I have one that a lot of people probably don't think about, and I think that actually I think Luke, you and I would be in agreement on this, but a lot of people don't think about this, and that is a proper port of all of the Silent Hill games.
Yeah.
Go and look how much Silent Hill 3 is right now. Just go Google that.
Oh, okay. I stand corrected. Like Worms 2 is on G is on
GOG.
Go GOG.com, but at the same time, I really wish it was on Steam. The same thing with like something like Dungeon Keeper Go. Like Dungeon Keeper and Dungeon Keeper Go would be an absolute good time just for.
I mean, you
just for
can
the
play it through the EA Play membership, but you still have to have the EA launcher to fucking play it.
Yeah. But there we go. I can get Worms too. So it's not a lost cause.
Yeah, and GOG is like DRM free and all that good shit, but it's still asinine that you would have to install a third-party software just to play it, and that's the biggest issue here. But like, go ahead and Google, Luke, how much a copy of Silent Hill 3 is right now.
It's probably something like 300 in my country.
It's ridiculous. I was at our local retro game shop the other day because I sold a bunch of old Funko Pops that I don't want to move. Because I buy pretty much everything, and I'm like, you know what? I don't give two shits about Overwatch anymore, so I'm gonna sell all these.
All right. Over here, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
How much is it there?
It's like £40.
It's $387 here.
The PlayStation 2 one, site. Yeah, I'm looking at it here. On a site called Cash at Max,
Yeah.
$37.79 over here.
Yeah, that's the difference in the regions too. Like, I could buy a copy from Japan for like $20, right? But I'd also have to get like a region 3 or whatever the Japanese PS2 is, just to play it, or mod one of my 3 PS2s I have here. Because I have a European
Imagine
one.
only having 3 PS2s.
I have a European one.
Could not be me. I have more.
Or
okay. I've got Worms 2 wishlisted, so
Yeah.
okay, I can buy it at any point.
yeah, and then I have a slim, and then I have a fat one that I got from when I bought one of my buddy's old retro game collections. And I like the fat one better because it just doesn't have all the faults that the slim one does. But anyway,
A slim PlayStation 2.
yeah, it has a bigger chance of overheating. And the power supply, essentially.
Also, just gotta say, welcome. Who stole my soup?
But that's the biggest one for me. Like, Silent Hill 2 was like $250 during quarantine when I was getting back into a lot of the horror games and shit like that. And it drove me nuts trying to hunt down some of these games. You can emulate them, obviously. But then Konami has a tendency to strike your content if it's not being played on like the original software. And that's something I learned from Wendigoon. Because they're very protective of their content. Or if you play like the collection that was on Xbox Live, it's poorly translated. It has a lot of glitches that have never been properly patched out. The fonts are fucking Comic Sans, and that it's absurd.
That's based.
Yeah.
I mean, I use Comic Sans at our thumbnails occasionally just because it's funny, haha, meme times. But to put that in an official release is like a slap in the face to the original creators of the project, you know?
Kingdom Hearts 2 is in Comic Sans.
Yes, I know, but it also fits with the atmosphere of that. Do you want to go into
Committing genocide. You're committing genocide in Kingdom Hearts 2 to the nobodies.
Shh. Don't say the G word. YouTube doesn't like the G word.
Yeah.
But like for me, it was one thing to have it as a game like Kingdom Hearts. It's another thing to have that as like the town sign in a psychological horror game, right?
I think that's hilarious.
I'm just like, what the fuck am I looking at here? That's fucking Comic Sans because I had it originally on 360 before I sold a bunch of my games. And that's a story I don't want to dive down, why I sold a bunch of my games. But there's a lot of need for a lot of these ports to be properly. I do not give two shits, EA app, if you need to restart right now. Thank you for going to my notification. That's annoying. That's just in the bottom right-hand corner of this recording. But I don't see this one happening ever, because a lot of the original source code for Silent Hill 1 was lost in particular. And to make the remaster, they ended up going back and rewriting a lot of that code to port it to semi-modern consoles. I don't know if you guys knew that.
No, I didn't. So that's something quite interesting to learn.
Yeah, and so that's why I don't think that one would happen. We'd have a higher chance of like Silent Hill 4 or maybe 3 getting ported into modern platforms. And that's why Blue Point going back and working on a remaster or reboot, whatever you want to call it, of Silent Hill is a really big blessing to fans, because that'll give them a chance to go and play that for the first time. I, on the other hand, wish that somebody would be like, hey, I have an original copy of it here. Like, I think it was in like 2021, the original Resident Evil 2 version, like the one where you had the biker chick going around, kind of leaked online. Then you had the gorilla zombie and all this weird shit in it that never made it to like the original Resident Evil 2. It was essentially considered lost media as well, until that just happened to find its way online. There's a whole story on YouTube about how that came to be, and I got a chance to play that before I reimaged the PC that I used to record on, and it was a fucking bizarre experience. I recommend that to anybody who's a fan of Resident Evil. But I wish something would happen with like the original Silent Hills like that. Like, hey, I have a copy of it, here you go. And then that would give Konami a chance to properly remake or remaster these games.
Yeah. So for me, my next one is one that I have a particular frustrating history with, Heart of Darkness. I really wish that game was on Steam, just because if you look online, or on YouTube, just type in Heart of Darkness Let's Play and just see the amount of times people can die in that game. That would make just so many fun videos, but also as well, it's like one of the most infuriatingly frustrating card games, and I love it for that. just because of the amount of insane traps and everything, and if you get hit once, you're dead, and you're starting the whole level all over again.
That game you mentioned, I think 1,000 times in an old video that no longer exists on our channel.
Oh, okay.
I think it actually does still exist as an unlisted video on the podcast playlist, but yeah. That one I have been trying to find a copy of, and it's very difficult to find a copy of it.
Yeah,
just to play it. I think you did send me a ROM of it at one point, though.
Yeah, I probably did, and you could probably get on PlayStation 1 somewhere. So it's one of those games that is not lost to the annals of history, but at the same time, it'll be great to see it, like, maybe have a remake, an updated remake, but keep the difficulty in it as well.
No, fuck that difficulty. I'm not trying to play Demon Souls in my goddamn video games. I'm not Ann Arbor.
The difficulty is what
Wait
made
a sec. You
What?
think Demon Souls is hard?
Yes, Demon Souls is hard. Fuck you. It is notoriously the hardest Souls game, and you know this.
It's
But
not.
I will say about Half Darkness, the difficulty, it's not the difficulty where it's like you are just like, no, fuck this game, I'm done. It's the difficulty like, no, I'm gonna get through this.
Do you want to know how I beat one of the bosses in Jedi Survivor?
How?
I turned it down to story mode.
That's
Is-
sad. That's sad.
It's Survivor because I'm gonna wait until it's like gone down a little bit.
So
It's
here's
nice.
here's the thing. Luke, do you remember Ogobogo, the giant lizard thing that was notorious for just like one-shotting everybody?
Yeah.
So there's a boss battle with 3 of them.
Excuse me while I
Yeah. I turned it down to story mode for that one fight. I'm like, nope, I'm done. One of these motherfuckers is bad enough because it one-shots you.
yeah.
I'm not playing games to be the best anymore. I'm playing games.
One of them one-shots you. You are fighting 3 of them.
Yes, you are fighting 3 of them, and
this
they
makes
take
no
out.
sense.
God.
When they at least have a chance at winning.
Yeah, so they are big enough to take up half of the arena each. So you have about the space of a hitbox to move in.
Oh God.
That sounds really fair for them. And but it would be fucking easy. I would just look at them and they would die.
No, no, go fuck yourself, Ann Arbor.
Give me 2 hours and I know it that fight.
So yeah, Heart of Darkness would definitely be one that I would, if it came to Steam, I'd be like, right, buying that right away.
Yeah.
And another one would be, and I'm surprised this never had like a multiplayer mode, even on the PS2 version. Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelist of the Roses.
So that one is one that I had on my list as well. That game was unique.
Mm-hmm.
So
It was basically like Duelist Kingdom, but in chess mode.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
So I hate strategy games, right? I have this very, very odd love-hate relationship with them. I hate things like XCOM, but love them at the same time because it has like the permadeath mode, kind of like the old school Fire Emblem. But at the same time, things like Duelist of the Roses was so unique in its like chessboard style playthrough, and it being the only way to get Valkyria at the time.
Yeah. Which someone stole from me. I'll never forgive them for that. It was Ann Arbor. I'll never forgive them for that.
What did I steal from you?
You stole my Valkyria because you came over to England. I traveled back in time.
Yes, I know. I remember. But that was the first time I used my time machine. Good times.
Yeah, you went into the Dr. Stone manga, got the time machine, and went back in time and stole my cards.
God. No,
Fishing,
like
I think you don't want a rematch.
that was so fucking cool back when they put cards in the video games. Like I
know.
I hated it. Some cards you could only get through video games.
Abyss
so they already
Warrior,
had the price of like 20 euros. Just
fucking
from
Zoa, wasn't it? Like Zoa was in a world championship game for the Game Boy Advance, I think. But Metal Zoa was in a fucking booster pack, if I remember right.
Yes, it was.
Yes, it's terrible.
And
it's
also,
never done again.
Yes. So if they brought Duelist of the Roses to Steam, but added in like a multiplayer, I feel like that would sell really well, especially coming off the heels of like the popularity of something like Master Duel.
Yeah.
And you already don't want a port, you want a remake. That's already different.
No, I want to port.
You want it with multiplayer. As soon as they add something, they need to remake it. That's a remake.
Yeah, you'd have to remake the code for it, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately.
No, that's a remake and not a port anymore.
Yeah, but still, it would be something that I feel like would sell really well.
It would. For a niche audience, that's the thing, because a lot of people would remember like, oh, this isn't actually like a card game. This is also like a strategy game where you have to place your pieces on the board and you have to be really smart about how you play. For like 10-year-old me, 11-year-old me, like it was a pain in the ass, but I loved it because it was a Yu-Gi-Oh game and you didn't really have those that often. Like fucking Forbidden Memories was notorious for its difficulty spikes.
I like Forbidden Memories.
Well, actually, Duelist of the Roses, because I've played it recently on the PlayStation 2, it's actually harder than I remembered.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because you don't have kid brain anymore where, like, you could sit down and think for a moment, like, oh, let me try and plot out how I want to play this. Now you just kind of beat your head against the wall because once you get older, you lose that like little bit of your brain that was used for critical thinking. It's very, very bizarre. I tried to go back and play fucking Command and Conquer Red Alert 3 recently, and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing in this game?
I don't know, taking drugs.
No, honestly, like, I could not win a match. I could not. And I'm like, I used to be really good. I have all the fucking achievements in this game. And I can't fucking beat it. Now.
Yeah. But yeah, Justice of the Roses, I would seriously want to see make a comeback. And also as well, since talked about Yu-Gi-Oh! We have Digimon on Steam, Digimon games. Bring the Pokemon GameCube games to Steam.
No, Nintendo will.
Nintendo will
Nintendo's
never
the problem.
put shit on another platform besides a Nintendo platform.
Nintendo is worse than
Please,
Sony
Nintendo,
and...
please.
Look, why should the worst gaming company in history listen to the consumers?
I hate agreeing with Ann Arbor, but it is always ethical to pirate a Nintendo product.
And it's the easiest to pirate a Nintendo game. There's no easier company to pirate games from.
So,
see,
yeah,
I have one thing to say in this bit here. This is a company that is taking 75% of one man's income for the rest of his fucking life.
This is the company that sues you for using your own product that you bought with your own money.
Yeah. Look up the Gary Bowser verdict, by the way, if you want to hate Nintendo more than you already do. I have never in my life seen such overreach from a company than in that verdict. And I have lived through a lot of piracy cases. I have lived through a lot of cases of... I have actually gotten the emails for pirating albums before. Back in the day when I didn't have money. And it... Like, no, obviously they aren't going to come after, like, Joe Schmo on the fucking... like BitTorrent because you're seeding an album that's not got a lot of shit. But if you're just sitting there and hosting services and paying or charging for the services to jailbreak, a console, that's a whole other can of worms that I'm not going to go through the logistics and the legality of, because we all know that it's illegal. But the overreach from making an example out of him from Nintendo is absurd.
Yeah, I've just looked it up and I'm like, yeah.
That man is never going to be able to live a life.
Never.
Why do I get the feeling that once he bites the bucket, his family will have to take over his debt?
No,
that's
illegal.
Illegal in the States.
Although he doesn't technically live in the States.
Where's he living?
I believe it was Costa Rica where they caught him.
I think the Costa Rican law also doesn't allow it. I think the UN itself made it illegal in most countries.
I believe so. I'm not going to fact check that because I don't want to do that, but I do believe that is the case. Just like when I die, like my heirs, if I were to have any, would not inherit any of my debt. Like that's kind of the thing.
The only way he would theoretically be able to pay off his debt is if he won the lottery.
Not even then, because the lottery's taxed at like 20-some%.
Fun fact: Germany has no lottery. If you win the lottery, Germany has 0 taxes on it.
It's same here.
Yeah. Viva America. Fucking hate it.
Free country offer free.
Right, yeah. Mm-hmm. And most gun deaths per capita.
I'd say I only had 2 more that I really wanted to talk about. Well, 3 more. First of just briefly, Earthbound. If you can have Final Fantasy VI on Steam, bring Earthbound to Steam. But then it's a Nintendo product again.
Yeah, it's a Nintendo product. The reason we were able to get Final Fantasy VI is because it was owned by Square Enix.
Oh, okay. All right, fair enough.
And I say that just because I'm a Square shill. The
Yeah.
thing with Earthbound 2, I believe it was supposed to be one of them that hits the SNES emulator, and it is a fucking emulator on the Switch.
It is on the Switch.
Can you tell I haven't used my Switch in a fucking millennium?
Yeah, you've not
Um,
Switch in a millennium, but yeah, it
That's
is
why
on the
branded
Switch.
loss is a shit card, my friends.
But yeah, the other one that I uh want to come to Steam, and it's still active. Like there are people that are still playing it, but only playing like the multiplayers and not actually playing the actual story mode of the game. Freelancer.
I have no knowledge of this game whatsoever.
I will need to send you like a let's play, but basically it's a sequel to a game called Starlancer. Well, spiritual sequel, where it's basically like a space combat simulator where you have spaceships, you fly around the galaxy doing jobs, taking on enemies, building up reputation, trying to avoid people that are bad, that you with bad reputation, and just exploring a galaxy. It's so it is one of my favorite games of all time, but it's one of those games that you really just have to go and play yourself to really get appreciation for it.
Mm-hmm.
And the story of it, it's not the most complicated of it, but it's really enjoyable. That's why I wanted to come to Steam. Because it for the time, because it came out in 2003, it had some fairly decent voice acting as well. You had the likes of John Rhys Davies in it,
Huh.
George Takei, and you had June the Bounty Hunter from Avatar in there, and also Satele Shan from the Old Republic.
Interesting.
Jennifer Hale, that was her name. Jennifer Hale played the main female in that game.
So that sounds interesting. That's a pretty star-studded cast. I don't know if either of you have heard of this one, but it's an Atlas game.
Yeah.
Um, so
But just
Oh,
sorry to interrupt you briefly, Feck. But yeah, the game is still active. But like I said, it's on mods. Like there's a freelance discovery where it added new systems, new ships, and new everything. And it was like it's like a role playing like server. So you'd
like
be
your
like
GTA 5 RP servers where you
yeah,
be a
yeah,
cop, yada yada yada.
yeah. And there's still people on there that still play it. So it's not like the game is dead. It's dead, but I'd love it to come to Steam because you can't play the story mode anymore.
That's bizarre, but you know
But yeah,
what? I understand that. So have either of you heard of a horror game called Rule of Rose?
yeah.
vaguely.
It's
Yes.
notoriously one of the most expensive PS2 games on the planet because it's an Atlas game. If you follow the Atlas market, once a game comes out, you should buy it. Otherwise, it will become expensive unless it's fucking Persona. And then some Persona games are also very expensive, like Persona 3 Portables. Collector's Edition is like $600, yada yada yada. Rule of Rose hits like around
Hate Persona. I hate Persona so much.
Rule of Rose hits around $800 regularly. And I have never gotten a chance to play it because of its price. It is one game I have been trying my damnedest to get my hands on, and it's one that's avoided my capture. But I've seen Let's Plays of it. It kind of takes like the psychological horrors of the Silent Hill franchise, mixes it with a little bit of the survival horror from the early Resident Evil games, but it also throws in that little Atlas charm. And it's one that I think is considered abandonware at this point. Somebody can fact check me on that. But it being abandonware means, it's free reign to do whatever the fuck you want with, but that also would mean that any company could essentially pick up the trademark for it and remaster it or remake it, and that means it could hit modern platforms if it's actually factually abandonware. and that would be a really great chance for new audiences to see it, because it honestly, for a PS2 game, it looks really good. Like, Atlas had a really great track record on every platform of making games look beautiful, even if they're dark as shit. And the whole storyline of that game is one of the darkest things I've ever seen Atlas write. And I would love to see that make its way to modern consoles or Steam. I doubt it would hit Steam, but I think it would at least hit like the Xbox Series or the PS5, something like that, if they were to actually pick it up. But I have one other one, and along that same vein.
Yeah.
And it's one you guys probably wouldn't expect from me. But I would love to see the Avatar games get put onto Steam.
Avatar's games?
Yeah.
You mean like Avatar: The Last Airbender?
Yes.
You know what? No, I would expect that from you.
Do you guys know the legacy of the Avatar games on the Xbox 360?
No, I don't. But just before you say that, I've put in general gaming like the full game playthrough without any commentary for Freelancer.
Okay, I'll take a look at that.
Yeah, granted it is the full game, so it's like 7 hours long.
Jesus Christ. I'll get to that eventually, I'll say.
Yeah, but I'll just say like watch clips of it, and then you'll see like just the detail they put into that game of just like the different systems and different factions and everything, because they're all based on like real world areas. So like you've got one area that's based on Japan, one area that's based on Britain, one area that's based on Germany.
Oh, lovely. I get to do things that Ann Arbor's people would do, probably, considering the purpose of the game, right? So there are a few games that have a notorious history for being like achievement hunting games for like easy thousands back in the day. So Hannah Montana was one of them. King Kong was another one. And the Avatar games. Avatar, I believe it was Burning Earth, which was based on, I think, book 2. You could stand in one area of the game and spam the A button for 10 minutes and get 1,000 gamer score. If you had that 1,000 gamer score completion rate, you were deemed like a fucking joke, because you would just sit there and play the games for the whole purpose of like achievement hunting. And my original Xbox account before it got banned, it had all of those games on it, because I used to just take the shovelware and grind up my gamer score, because my buddies and I back in the day would have these achievement races. So I had shit like Cars Mater National, I had fucking Hannah Montana, Best of Both Worlds, King Kong, all those games on there. Too Human, stuff like that, where you could just sit there and spam the A button or just complete the story for an easy 1,000. But I will say, like, the Avatar games in particular, beyond the fact that you could just stand there in one area and spam the A button, they did a really fairly good job of retelling the Avatar series. To the capacity of a game on that generation of consoles, too.
Yeah.
The Legend of Korra game, on the other hand, was kind of mid. And it got delisted like a year after it was made. But I would still like to see that make a renaissance, too, considering we're getting a new Avatar story. You know?
Which is something that I would like to do a video on, like the revitalization of the Avatar franchise.
Like, there's a need for certain series to stay in the annals of time, and I think that the Avatar franchise is one of those, because it did a really great job of telling stories on how war is really horrible, how the being the child of destiny is a curse more than it is a blessing, stuff like that. Because if you look at Aang's trajectory from like the original series to the end of the original series, and I guess by a little bit like his legacy in Korra, like, he didn't have the greatest life, you know.
No, and what he certainly had were parent issues.
Oh yeah,
considering how he uh raised his kids.
yeah,
He was kind of stuck. Even in the comics, Aang is still like kind of like wanting to be like he's the if you had to put him in one category, it would be like the Gen 1 and nostalgia boy. Like
yeah,
everything needs to be exactly how it was in the past.
yeah. It's very interesting his trajectory as a character, even in the comics. You're right. I will say like there's a lot of like little games I would like to see come back. X-Men Destiny is one of them. Turtles Out of Shadows is another one. But like those are games that will likely never get revitalized or brought back because of their licensing issues. The reason they were taking Out of Shadows back is because Activision doesn't have the license to the Turtles anymore, and that's why that game was an error on Steam's end while they were updating some stuff behind the scenes. It kind of got relisted.
All right.
So if they did sell it and allowed people to keep it, they would get fined like something like $250,000 per copy that got scooped up. So I understand from a business perspective not wanting to take that kind of a fine.
Okay, fair enough.
It's kind of like when they did a short relicensing of Ultimate Alliance before Civil War, I think it was, back in the MCU days, the early MCU days, where you could buy Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2 on Xbox One and PS5, Xbox One and PS4, and I scooped it up on Xbox One because I didn't have the PC build at the time. I think it did also come back to PC during that time, though. I wish I would have, still said fuck it and bought it on Steam because I still have my Steam account, obviously. But I didn't. Deadpool came back during that same time because Deadpool 2 was coming out. And they're like, well, let's have Nolan North Deadpool come back for a little bit. And now a physical copy of that Deadpool game is like $120.
Wow.
Yeah. There's a reason I'm a big fighter for physical media. And why I've always, outside of PC gaming, I've always been like, no, I want the fucking disc. Because they can't revoke the disc,
Yeah.
But essentially now a disc is just a licensing agreement, right? So you have games like Battleborn, which were still on a disc. Battleborn was essentially like if Overwatch had a PvE mode, right? Like Overwatch 2 was supposed to have, but Activision Blizzard is fucking stupid and said, you know what, we're not going to do that, even though that was the whole purpose of making Overwatch 2. So fuck you guys, we want money. But Battleborn was made by Gearbox, the people that make, Brothers in Arms, Borderlands, those types of games. The most recent Duke Nukem, which everybody hated, although I thought it was funny, but cringy, stuff like that, right? So they made this game that was essentially Overwatch, and it released, I believe, the same week as Overwatch, and because of that, it kind of got doomed to fail, because everybody saw the marketing for Overwatch, because Activision has infinite money, whereas, Gearbox doesn't. But because that was mostly online, even having that physical disc, once the server shut down, the game's gone. So now in the modern age, even having physical media doesn't guarantee that that game will still work. And that's the biggest crime in my book, right? Because you're paying now $70 for a game, right? And to say that game can be snuffed away at the drop of a billionaire's pen is bullshit. And that's why I really, really do believe in this, preservation of media. That's why I love things like these rogue piracy servers where you have games like Freelancer, like you mentioned, just kind of allowing games to live on.
Yeah, because, again, Freelancer, despite... it's just amazing how that has survived, because that could have easily been lost to the annals of time.
Right. Does anybody remember Dust 514?
Nope.
Ann Arbor? That would probably be more up your alley. Really? Dust 514 was an EVE Online spinoff that was on the PS3. And basically, if you have buddies that played EVE Online on PC, you could have them call in like orbital strikes on enemy bases, because Dust,
Yes, I remember that.
You were the foot soldier, right? And you could go and attack the bases, and you could have them call in like the orbital strikes and shit, right? I thought that was like the coolest cross-platform thing back in the day, and that game died at the end of the PS3's natural life cycle, right? Even though that concept was supposed to carry over into EVE, it never did. So all of that shit that you build up and bought and all of that is gone. I hate that. I hate things like that. But that was such a cool concept. Defiance, for example, that was another one that was kind of like this cross media idea from sci-fi. Luke, the show would probably be more up your alley than the game, but
yeah. What was that? What
Defiance.
was that?
It was a sci-fi show over here. I don't know if it'd probably be Stars Media over there.
Probably, I've never heard of it, so I might have to look into it.
It's cheesy as fuck. It's a sci-fi show. But the whole purpose is like what happened in game was supposed to happen in show. So say a town gets destroyed in the game, that was supposed to happen in the show. So that caused the production budget for the show to skyrocket because, gamers will be gamers. So if you give them the ability to affect something else, right, they're going to affect something else.
Yeah, they are.
So they dialed it back a little bit and kind of gave you the ability to influence missions that were going on in the season. And so, like, say the bad guys in this, it was like a pseudo MMO. The bad guys are trying to take over the town and cause the sheriff hell, yada, yada, yada. You have the ability to influence on behalf of the bad guys or the good guys. And I thought that was another cool concept, but when the show ended, basically they had a full season's worth of scripts left over, but they didn't have the budget to make them, right? So as a big farewell to the show, they essentially made all of the final season that was going to be made in-game. So you got to play out the entire final season as like a farewell to the game and to the show and everything. That got a remake or a revitalization on the Xbox One with what was essentially like lost scripts. Like a couple of the writers that had left previously, the previous showrunners, they had written some scripts before they kind of left the show to go on and work on like Game of Thrones and all this other shit. So they were like, you know what, let's allow people to play through these during quarantine. And like my old account was still there. Like it still existed, so I logged in and I'm like, all of the abilities in this game had changed. And I didn't like it as much, but it was still fun to dive back into this world because my dad wanted to watch the show. He had never seen it, and this was during the lull in Star Trek. I'm like, yeah, I mean, this is kind of in the same vein, so let's sit down and watch it. And I kind of fell back in love with like the show, and then I saw that they were doing like a remake or reboot of the game, so I dove into it. Like all the skill trees, all that was kind of different, but it was still fun. But I didn't like how shit worked anymore. It was just a weird kind of bittersweet moment because the company that brought it back didn't really understand how the world worked as much. So, like, you didn't have that, like, massive interaction with all the media that was being brought back into it. So, it kind of didn't take back off, and I think it shut back down here somewhat recently. So, again, it might actually be lost media again. And, MMOs are the worst for this, right? There are people that spend thousands of dollars on MMOs.
Man, I literally lost because of us in the toilet.
So, like, think how much somebody's World of Warcraft account would be worth, right? Because you have, 6 expansions for that at this point. All the mounts, all the gold, all the stuff that they're sinking into that. Think if World of Warcraft died one day.
That would be just insane.
That's also why you should never spend money on gacha games.
Well, I mean,
You
Well-
can talk.
I didn't you just spend all the money I paid you for editing in Master Duel?
No, I only
Yes, you
spent
did.
11 euros.
Oh,
And,
11 euros, and then also Red Bull you bought. That's right. I had to throw a little bit of shade at you though, but like,
That's you!
I-
Fortnite, bitch!
I
Oh,
like
you
the
are
same
right.
day, the same day you did that. I spent like $80 on Fortnite. I know. I'm calling myself out here. Do you want to know how much my Overwatch bill was when I did play the game?
I can imagine.
I had every skin from season 1 up to like season 4. So yeah. Somebody do the math on that.
yeah.
But like the thing is, like, World of Warcraft isn't so much a gacha game. It's an MMO. You're paying for a subscription. So there are people that have
Yeah.
been paying for a subscription since the game launched.
Yeah, I'll be back in a couple of minutes.
Okay. So like the fact that could be just lost to the sands of time is one that actually terrifies me, because that is the longest running MMO ever, right? I do want to see Activision Blizzard get a little bit of their comeuppance. I say that as a stockholder, but
And you have stocks in it?
yeah, I have stock in Activision Blizzard. But there's something to be said about how they run their company, right? Like, there's a lot of problems in that company, and especially like the division that works on Call of Duty, the division that is working on Overwatch. Like there's a lot of things going wrong in that company, and like if they lost World of Warcraft, that would be the end of that studio. Like, that is the one thing that generates them the most revenue. It's not Call of Duty, it's World of Warcraft. And I'm terrified of the reality that would actually die one day, because if that lost, there are people that are losing literally years of relationships and friendships and money, like decades worth. Like, unless those people have made connections outside of that game world, like with their clan, their friends, the people they play with, like, that's gone. One day, like, that is the end of it. There's a story that came out, I think it was like 2 years ago, about Ultima Online. And that was one of the very first Gary Gygax MMOs, and that game, when it died, there were people working to reverse engineer the codes just so they could keep those interactions alive with their friends, and they created this peer-to-peer server just so they can continue existing with their friends, because this was before TeamSpeak, this was before Discord, this was before all of that. Now that we have things like Discord and all those services, it's a very unique world we live in. But back when World of Warcraft came out, like, that wasn't even a thing as well. So I found that story about Ultima Online really heartwarming, because you had the dedication to keep friendships alive that were formed in a game, and you have no idea who that other person is, obviously. So I look to MMOs as being like the most egregious ones of these games that just kind of get lost to time, and then we need to preserve and bring to other platforms and keep alive, because once they're gone, that's the end of that story for you. It's one reason I don't really dive too deeply into MMOs. Like, I played Final Fantasy XIV during quarantine because I wanted to experience the story of it, right? Because I'm a big JRPG fan like you, Ann Arbor. But like, I lost 5 years of my life to World of Warcraft. I was Cartman during those 5 years. Like, I did nothing but log into that. I have a very, very bad addictive personality when it comes to things like that. When I get absorbed into something, it becomes my everything. And
Then I'm back. Then don't get absorbed into Guild Wars 2.
no, Like I played Guild Wars 2, and like I did like a trial membership of it back when it was a first thing, like way before it was on any platform but the original one, the original launcher, and that did not interest me too much. I know you've talked to me about it a lot. It seems like it's different than when I first played it. But
It is.
But like I couldn't even get absorbed like that into Final Fantasy 14. I don't know if like that part of my brain's dead to where like addiction isn't as bad. But I'm also sitting here working on music on one monitor while also filming a podcast, and I'm looking at my ashtray, and yeah, that's a picture on my Twitter. Like that's I need my ADHD meds. That's one thing I very much need to fill, because I'm trying to keep my serotonin inhibited with something else, and that's not healthy for me. But it's one thing to sit and talk about like the addictive personality traits of how MMOs kind of absorb your life, but there's one other game that I would love to see hit other platforms, and I don't think you guys are ready for that one. And I know I'm probably going to get chastised for this in the comments of the video. I want Ratchet and Clank to hit PC. I want that on PC.
Okay, that was yeah, I wasn't prepared for that.
I hate the controls for retro Ratchet and Clank. I fucking hate them. I want to point and click. So I like I said, I have the PS5. I went back and played through Ratchet and Clank 1 on PS5's emulator, because it has the PS Now functionality. The hoverboard bullshit that's in the early Ratchet and Clanks, the controls when they ported it over to PS3 are some of the most dogshit controls on the planet. I fucking hate them. I think they would function better with the ability to just like WASD on a keyboard versus utilizing that pseudo inverted aim bullshit that they have for it. But that's just in my opinion. I honestly want to see PlayStation make more ports to PC for their old school games. I talked in the comments of a tweet with Red, because he wants more Ape Escape. I'm like, I don't want more Ape Escape. I want more Infamous. I want more of Sly Cooper. I want things like that. Because those are franchises I dearly miss. Infamous Second Son wasn't the greatest game, but I think if it came to PC, more people would appreciate it. You know, getting those in front of the eyes of another audience. I know Sucker Punch has said like they kind of have left that in the past, kind of like Naughty Dog has left Uncharted in the past, although they seem hell-bent on porting The Last of Us to every platform to ever exist on the planet.
That's not true. It's still not on the smart fridge.
I'm sure I could get a fucking virtual box working on a smart fridge to emulate wine, and then I could port it through Steam.
Please, you are talking as if it was as if it would be hard to do that.
It wouldn't, because the smart fridge is powered by Linux.
I know.
Because it's fucking Android.
That's a joke.
I was clarifying for the audience there, because you and I have the tech knowledge, they don't. Like the Samsung smart fridge is literally built on Android, which is a Linux format. Anyway, Gigabrain bullshit.
Everything except for Apple products, and Windows is based on Linux.
Even Windows has incorporated Linux into it at this point.
Nowadays, yes.
But not me flexing my cybersecurity. Anyway, so the funny thing is, like, I was arguing with him. He's like, but they made a fourth Sly Cooper and no one played it. And I'm like, I played it.
Yeah, but you're also a hobbleless bastard.
I just want my furry raccoon buddy back. Okay, god damn it. But like the new Ratchet and Clank kind of got me thinking, like, bringing something like that with that style of technology and graphical fidelity over to the PC would be amazing. I never said that Ratchet and Clank was a gloriously beautiful game until I played the new one. It's insane, and the technology of like the DualSense and being utilized in it was really, really cool. Like fucking the triggers, like to reload, like if you're out of ammo, like it has the tension, stuff like that. It's really cool features. I know that one really translate super well over to PC, but getting in front of another audience, especially those old ones, that'd be great. Yeah, that's the oddball one from me. Anybody got another one before I hit stop recording?
I mentioned 0 games till now because you both didn't let me talk.
Yeah.
Well, go on,
talk.
So yeah, the only game that we all talked about on my list would be Kingdom Hearts that I want on PC, but you already talked about that. But the other one would be, I know Vex will hate me for it, but Demon's Souls and Bloodborne.
I would love to see Bloodborne on PC, honestly. For one reason. For one reason. To get people to shut the fuck up about it.
Shut the fuck up. Bloodborne's like literally the best game that company has ever made.
I will agree with you. It is the best of the Soulsborne games.
And I would like to... And the best... I just want to see it on PC, so... First of all, the multiplayer would be alive again. Second of all, imagine me streaming, invading all the fucking newbies and ripping their ass out.
Ripping their ass out is quite a graphical image. Like, I don't like anal fissures being in my brain, Ann Arbor. Thanks for that.
The other app is, again, Demon's Souls. Me like Demon's Souls.
I think you are one of the biggest masochists on the planet when it comes to that franchise.
What masochist? Both games are fucking easy.
That is notoriously the most difficult one.
Prove it.
Have you ever looked at one of the Dark Souls streams that I made on this fucking channel?
I have watched maybe one of them, and that's when you and I were in a call together.
But I fucking know the bosses almost all the time.
Yeah, but you have also played that franchise to death. So I played the original PS3 version of that, and
I have the platinum trophy in the original PS3 version.
I fear for your fingers. That
What?
game, I probably played like 3 hours of it. I'm like, nope, I'm good. I played Dark Souls 1.
It's literally one of the easiest ones.
I fucking hate it.
In my opinion.
I hated it.
Demon's Souls is literally one of the easiest ones as it's the most cheesable of all.
I could not figure out a way to cheese that game, okay?
You're stupid! Sorry!
Listen, I never said I was good at fucking those types of games. I have notoriously admitted I am horrible at them. There's also a big reason I stopped streaming Elden Ring on the channel is because I have backseat gamers. Like, oh, you're terrible. You just gotta do this, and this. I'm like, this is my first time playing the game. I'd like to play it myself, you know? Like, that's... And I'm like, if I turn chat off, I look like a dickhead. Because that's how content creation works. So I had to keep chat there, and I'm seeing, like, how to beat the boss on the right hand of my fucking screen every time I try to play the game. I'm like, oh, fuck it. A guy had to ruin the game for me. But I did love the world of Elden Ring. It was a beautiful fucking world.
Elden Ring's one of the worst games they made.
Yeah, I hear that, but it's one of the most beautiful. In my opinion. Like, I've played at least 4 or 5 hours of every Dark Souls game trying to get into that franchise, and I just can't. It's unfortunate. The only one I actually was good at was Bloodborne. And that's because shooty thing. I'm easy. I have monkey brain when it comes to guns. I'm good with guns. And that comes from being a really good Halo player back in the day. That comes from being like really good at Call of Duty back when it was good. I want good Call of Duty back, but that's never going to happen. I want good Halo back, and that's never going to happen as long as 343 is playing, doing it. Please continue to give me free things, 343. But, like, I agree with you though, Ann Arbor. I would love more people to be able to like play those games. Like the accessibility of those franchises is really a blessing. I do hope that they do come to PC though. Bloodborne on PC would be pretty cool. I would probably play that one again.
It's after all my favorite game of all time, above Kingdom Hearts 2, and that means something for everyone who has played Kingdom Hearts 2.
Kingdom Hearts 2 will never be dethroned as my favorite game of all time. I'm sorry.
And like, I have also like included a few all-time games that have three, that I really want to get to PC, but they are all like simplified in one sentence. All Digimon games. Give me World 1, World 3, and Rumble Arena.
Yeah.
Fuck World 2.
I want them all on PC. I'll be honest. Like the Digimon World games were really fun.
I'll be honest. One reason why I don't want 2 on PC is because I've never played it, as it was not localized in Germany. Fuck World 2.
That's a dumb reason to not want it. I would want it even more. Like
I had only bad things about it, to be fair.
It wasn't great, but
no, Digimon game is great. Digimon is horrendously bad games, but I still want them.
There's a lot to be said about like the quality fluctuation in Digimon games.
I mean, unlike Pokemon, they are getting better.
Yeah, and Pokemon's getting worse. Sword and Shield, anyone? Sword and Shield, anyone?
Scarlet and Violet, anyone? Scarlet and Violet, anyone?
No, Scarlet and Violet is good. Don't listen to Ann Arbor.
Where?
I'd say it's better
you mean all the frame drops? You mean all the unbalanced shit? You mean the 2v2, so the double battles online, which always use the same RNG seed, so it can always guarantee that Fissure hits 100% of the time.
I would say it's better than Sword and Shield on a story platform.
Fuck the story. No one plays Pokemon for the story.
I do. I don't do competitive.
I do as well.
I don't give a fuck about competitive Pokemon. I haven't.
I don't give a fuck about the story, and competitive, it became way worse.
Like that.
So
I will say, like, I want somebody else to take over Pokemon besides Game Freak. Like
it's never gonna happen.
I know it's never gonna happen, but I want it to happen. Like Game Freak needs to step the fuck away from Pokemon. They have ruined that franchise.
They literally did that with Gen 4 remakes.
Like,
and we know how
that will never happen, but it did happen already.
Yeah, and we all know how well that turned out.
Yes,
horrendous.
The game looked fucking great. It just had as many bugs as the original Gen 4 game.
Yeah. You would think in 4 generations of Pokemon, they would be able to figure out how to code their own fucking game. Nope. Nope. There are fan patches that make that game better. There are fan patches that do the job better than the people making the fucking game.
To be fair, defending Game Freak right now, literally fan patches and like modders know more about the engine, about the hardware than the game developers, as they have more time to like learn everything from it.
Yeah, I'm not shitting on the developers. I'm shitting on the management of the game.
Yeah, I know. I just wanted like to clarify it for the viewers.
Yeah. Because Game Freak is notorious for their crunch cycles. Like, next to Activision, I think they are the worst.
They have 1 year per game.
Mm-hmm. And now they have two. They have 2 teams working on Pokemon at any time now, if I remember right from the leaked information.
The worst thing is, think about it. We get a new generation every 2 years in Pokemon nowadays. I think the longest time we didn't have a new generation was between Sword and Shield and Scarlet and Violet for 4 years. But this is the first game with DLCs.
I think it was between X and Y and Sun and Moon.
No, that was literally 2 years.
No, it was Gen 4 to Gen 5 because that was 4 years.
Then it's as long as Gen 7 as Sword and Shield to Scarlet and Violet. But
No, I'm pretty sure because it's a 3-year gap between Sword and Shield and Scarlet Fight. Let me look it up.
But anyway, there's it's the same situation with like Ubisoft and Assassin's Creed now. They have multiple teams working on it. The same with Activision and Call of Duty. Like they have I think Ubisoft Montreal, Ubisoft France, and Ubisoft Shanghai are working on 3 separate Assassin's Creeds.
yes, Gen 4 to Gen 5 was 4 years, Luke. That's correct.
Yeah, and Scarlet Fight it was 3 years because
3 years.
Scarlet Sword and Shield came out in 2019. Scarlet Fight came out in 2022.
Yeah, but let's be honest, if Corona wasn't there, we would have gone Scarlet and Violet way earlier, with way more bugs.
Yeah. I'd be scared if that happened, honestly. I think the Legends games did Pokemon better than the main titles now. Like, Legends
Yeah.
Arceus was a nice departure.
I like how you say Legends games, even though it's just one.
Well, the rumor is they're working on a Legends Celebi. Like, and we don't know if that's true or not, but...
I would really like... Nah, I don't like the Johto region, it's shit.
But,
No, you know what needs to be done? Legends Kalos.
fuck that.
Fuck French people.
No one wants to play in France. Not even the French.
It's like people attacking up, saying, "Yo, you should play the new Harry Potter game." Fuck no, I don't want to be British.
Have you guys ever played the Alteria Ryza games?
No.
No.
So I stand by what was said in an earlier podcast that game would work really well for Dr. Stone. Style game. But I've been sitting like my work is slow right now, so I've had enough time to sit down and catch up with certain manga. I think that formula would also work for the Ancient Mage's Bride if they were to ever make a game on that. Just given the whole style of the universe, like take a little bit of the like Fire Emblem Three Houses like school sim bullshit that goes on, and throw it in an Alteria Ryza game, and there you would have the whole college arc for Ancient Mage's Bride. Like 100%.
I like Three Houses. I like Fire Emblem.
I want a permadeath game back. Like there are so few good permadeath games. Like XCOM.
Fire Emblem is a good one.
Yeah,
If you
Fire.
don't play casual.
Yeah, I don't play casual in Fire Emblem. I grew up on the permadeath of that.
Me too. I like permadeath.
Like
Permadeath makes everything better.
the last one I played before Three Houses was the one on Wii, Radiant Brilliance, was it? Radiant Dawn, yeah. And that game's like $480 now too. Fucking absurd. There are so many expensive Nintendo games now. But the reason I brought that up is obviously Season 2 of Ancient Mage's Bride is out right now. And they're remaking the first Alteria Ryza game on Steam. It's going to be there, I believe, in July. Everybody should definitely check that out. But the only other good permadeath game I've actually found recently, and I know I'm super late. Hey, Zangetsu! I know I'm super late to this, is fucking Darkest Dungeon. And
Darkest Dungeon is great.
like, I did not know what to expect going into that, but it wasn't what the fuck I was playing. But that was super fun, and the sequel just came out, so I'll probably buy that payday, because like I had so much fun with that game.
First of all, I need to play the first one again.
Yeah, and
Everybody who wants to see me stream Darkest Dungeon,
you are insane, my friend. You
Yep.
are insane.
fuck my cock. You are even worse than me.
I also need to play the
I would
Divinity
love that.
franchise.
That's the sad thing.
Also, sorry I'm late. My family annoys me so much. It's like, why do you have a computer there? Because you can't clean a computer in a closet.
Challenge accepted. Closet, come here.
Meanwhile, I have another family member who's a legit hoarder. Don't say shit about them. Just yell at me.
Me with 3 storage units I need to clean out in the next 2 months. But to be fair, before I moved to this apartment, I lived in a 3-story house. And like my family kept everything from when I was a kid, so I've inherited a lot of clutter I need to just fucking get rid of or light on fire with a boring company flamethrower that I definitely bought before Elon became a fucking psychopath.
So fucking dumb, the last. I think he just got corona and corona killed all his brain cells.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's anti-vax and anti-mask, so... Allegedly. Don't sue me, Elon. I do not have the money.
Elon, ban his Twitter account. You already did it anyways.
I'm
Keep it
back.
banned.
I'm back for probably 2 weeks, and then I'll get banned again for calling another Disney adult a fucking idiot or some shit that I shouldn't be banned for.
Or you're just sending Elon again that he should kill himself like you always do.
No, I mean, I'm blocked by Elon on my personal account, so can't say anything to that. I could probably use
maybe you should stop sending death threats to everyone.
I don't do that. I don't have
Well, I
I have
want to
10
figure out.
screenshots of you doing that.
What I want to figure out is like, how many have you set that he personally just,
No, not
just
one.
block you?
As if you. As
No.
if Elon looked
What
at the
happened?
retweet.
What happened to get me blocked was after I said maybe your next girlfriend will be the last one. After he got broke up with, what was it? Grimes was his last wife. And I guess I got him in his feels with that one. How do you
Finish
fumble?
your thoughts with
How do you
podcast.
fumble Grimes? Okay, how the fuck do you fumble that?
Oh, is Vex sad that he didn't get the goth girlfriend, but Elon did?
If I was Elon, I would have fumbled it.
You wouldn't, but you need to call you Chart like he did. Sorry. But this is the end of the podcast. Thank you everyone for listening.
Yeah, thanks. Bye bye.
With that said,
Bye bye.
Take